Let me tell you a story about being the invisible friend. Before we get into this story, if you feel this story is enjoyable, please like and subscribe to my channel for more story about life. Not the one people hated, not even the one they disliked. I was just there. The kind of friend whose number you call when you need something, but whose name you forget when you're celebrating. I was the reliable one, the backup plan, the convenient listener. For years, I honestly thought that was a normal part of friendship. I thought that being useful was the same as being valued. I couldn't have been more wrong. I was always the good friend, the one you could count on, no matter what. Need help moving into a new apartment? I'd show up with boxes and a smile. Need some cash to get you through the week? I'd send it, no questions asked, even when I was struggling myself. Need someone to vent to at 2 in the morning because your world is falling apart? I'd pick up the phone, bleary-eyed but ready to listen. I was the one who remembered everyone's birthdays, who bought thoughtful gifts, who showed up to every event, big or small, just to offer support. I was the one who fiercely defended my friends when other people were talking behind their backs, because that's what friends do, right? You protect each other. You have each other's backs. But slowly, a quiet, uncomfortable feeling started to creep in. It was a pattern I couldn't ignore anymore. Whenever I was the one who needed help, things were different. When my car broke down and I needed a ride, suddenly everyone was busy. When I was going through a tough time and just needed to talk, the replies were always the same. So sorry, can't talk now. I'll call you back later. Next time, I promise. But here's the thing, next time never came. The calls were never returned. The promises were forgotten. It was like my problems were an inconvenience, a disruption to their lives. The one-way street I was on was getting longer and longer, and I was the only one walking it. The wake-up moments didn't hit me all at once like a lightning bolt. They were more like a slow, quiet drizzle that eventually soaks you to the bone. They were subtle at first. I'd be scrolling through social media and see photos of a fun night out, a group dinner, a weekend trip, with all of my friends, laughing and having a great time, but I was nowhere to be seen. I was never invited. I'd be in a group chat, and the moment I tried to talk about something I was struggling with, the conversation would go completely silent. My messages about my own life would be left on read for hours, sometimes even days. But the moment one of them had a crisis, my phone would blow up. And what's the craziest part? The worst part? I still answered. I still helped. Every single time. Why? Because I was terrified. Deep down, I was afraid that if I stopped being useful, if I stopped being the problem solver, the 24/7 support line, I'd have no one. I was convinced that my usefulness was the only thing keeping me from being completely and utterly alone. Then, one day, the final straw broke. It was my birthday. It wasn't a milestone birthday, nothing special. I hadn't planned a party or expected some big celebration. Honestly, I didn't want gifts or anything grand. I just wanted a little bit of effort. A sign that I mattered to them as much as they mattered to me. Midnight passed. My phone screen stayed dark. No messages. I woke up the next morning, hopeful. Still nothing. The day went on, a silent testament to my invisibility. Finally, late in the evening, a single notification popped up. It was from one of my closest friends. The message read, "Oh yeah, happy birthday, bro." That was it. Not a call. Not an apology for forgetting. Not even a proper sentence. Just a casual, dismissive afterthought. I just sat there, staring at my phone, and this cold, painful realization washed over me. If I vanished tomorrow, if I just disappeared from the face of the earth, most of them wouldn't even notice. And the ones who did would probably only realize it when they needed something I was no longer there to give. I didn't have a big confrontation. I didn't write a dramatic post on social media announcing my departure from the friend group. There were no angry texts, no tearful phone calls. I just stopped. I stopped trying. I stopped being the first one to send a text asking how their day was. I stopped watching their stories and reacting to every post. I stopped making myself available 24/7, dropping everything at a moment's notice to cater to their needs. I put my phone on silent and just lived my life. And you know what happened? Something shocking, and yet completely expected. Silence. Absolute, deafening silence. Nobody reached out to ask if I was okay. Nobody questioned my sudden absence. Days bled into weeks, and weeks turned into months. The silence was the only answer I ever needed. It confirmed every single fear I had, and in a strange way, it set me free. My invisibility was finally proven to be real, and I no longer had to pretend it wasn't. With all of this newfound time and emotional energy that I was no longer pouring into one-sided friendships, I started to focus on the one person I had neglected for years, myself. I channeled that energy into my work, and I started excelling. I used my free time to learn new skills I'd always been curious about. Most importantly, I started taking care of my mental health, acknowledging the hurt and learning how to heal from it. And in the process, I started meeting new people, not by trying, but just by living. I met people at the gym, through new hobbies, at work. People who asked questions and actually listened to the answers. People who would check in on me for no reason other than to see how I was doing. People who reciprocated effort. Slowly, but surely, I stopped feeling invisible. I started to feel seen. Then, one day, out of the blue, my phone lit up with messages from the past. "Hey, where you been? Wow, you really changed. You never talk to us anymore." And as I read those words, I didn't feel anger or sadness. I just smiled, because they were right. I did change. I had finally learned my worth. Here's the truth nobody really tells you about loneliness. Being alone can be painful, yes, but being surrounded by people who make you feel invisible and unvalued is infinitely worse. It's a slow poison to your self-esteem. You start to believe their indifference. You start to think you're the problem. You think you're too much or not enough. But the reality is, you're not too much. You're just giving too much to the wrong people. The moment you stop chasing validation, the moment you stop begging for a spot at a table you were never truly welcome at, you get to see who is actually walking beside you all along. And trust me, the peace you find in letting go is worth every single difficult goodbye. The clarity is worth the temporary silence. If this story felt personal, if any part of it resonated with you, please know that you are not alone in this feeling. Like this video if you've ever felt invisible in your own life, and subscribe for more real stories and conversations. And always remember this: sometimes, losing people who were never really there for you isn't a loss at all. Sometimes, it's how you finally find yourself.